aircraft. So you can actually take it and rotate it around. You can also click on interactive elements that show you, in this case, the different modifications that the team makes to the jets that they inherit from the fleet. So we can click on those, and it'll tell us more about that stuff. Now, we've also incorporated some animated sequences that show off the different configurations of the aircraft. So here we can see the landing gear being retracted into the fuselage of the plane. So that's the aircraft section. Now, the biggest challenge that we had as we were working on this project together was to try and recreate the thrill and excitement of a Blue Angels flight demonstration. So to do that, the team collected 3 different camera angles for each of the maneuvers that the team flies and created a composite single video that includes a 3D visualization of the maneuver so the visitor can be oriented as to where the aircraft are throughout that maneuver. Now, using the video brush in Silverlight, we were able to make this video experience interactive, so the user can actually click through the different camera angles and really be in control of the experience. So all these videos are delivered using IIS Smooth Streaming so that the Navy can ensure that the user is getting the best possible quality video delivery based on their connection speed. Now, one of the other features we incorporated is based on the requirement for accessibility. So we have closed captioning support built in to the video player as well. And in this example, you can actually read a transcript of the radio communications of the pilots as they fly the demonstration. Now, Silverlight also enables us to incorporate multiple audio tracks with each video. So I'm going to turn on the narration track, and we're going to go down and take a look at one of the most difficult maneuvers that Blue Angels fly, the double farball.
Approach once again, you should notice 2 significant modifications. While the wingman, Lieutenant Tomazeski and Lieutenant Curley maintain that minimum wingtip to canopy separation, the flight leader and slot pilot are both upside down. From the right, the Blue Angel double farball.
So this maneuver is being flown about 50 feet off the ground, and it's pretty crazy. I mean, this is cool stuff. So that's part of the inside the demo experience. The Navy is in the process of deploying the site today, later on today. So please go take a look at blueangels.navy.mil. And one last thing. If you'd like to check out one of the shows that the Blue Angels put on around the country, we've incorporated an interactive map under the Show Information tab using the Bing Maps API. So you can go in and click on any one of these, and it'll pull up the map and show you all the locations so you can find one near your hometown. All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mike. So as we talked about in December, the Silverlight 5 release brings with it a ton of new features and capabilities. Things like better text quality and richer text editing, vector printing support, a new 3D API, XAML debugging, and much, much more. And what I'd like to do is just trying to show off an application that kind of highlights a bunch of these new features and capabilities, is invite John Papa on stage to walk you through a great application that's been built with him. Here's John.
Hey everybody, my name is John Papa, and as Scott mentioned, I'm going to show you some of the new features in Silverlight 5 today. And to start off here, we're going to talk about building a house. So 4 features in Silverlight 5 I'm going to show today. There's lots of great new stuff. What we're going to show is building a house, and the first feature, obviously, is going to be Silverlight with 3D. So in this particular case, I'm going to build a house. And I want to choose some different homes that I've got here. I've got different camera angles. We're rotating around, give different positions. And I kind of like brick homes, so this looks pretty good. I'll choose this one. As I flip over, now I can see I've got full interaction with the 3D. I can zoom around the house. I can check out. There's the roof, the floor. That's the floor. There's the roof. Zoom in, look inside the house, flip back down. And you see I'm getting really great performance. Things are rocking along pretty good. And great things about Silverlight 3D is you get the familiar and powerful XNA APIs that many of you already know, so you can really take advantage of that and build some great stuff. Another great thing here is we get something with doing GPU acceleration, so we get some great performance on here. So you can rock along at 60 frames per second by offloading, rendering the model with 3D with Silverlight and get this great performance, and you still have plenty of computing power to spare with the CPU. So this is a cool house, but I like something a little snazzier. So let's go over and look at something with a few more angles and curves. That looks pretty cool. So on this model, I'm going to decorate my house. Notice there's no doors, there's no windows. This is going to show off another feature in Silverlight 3D we call projection. It allows me to project from 2D space to 3D space and back again. So you'll notice this here as I grab a door from the controls down here, and you notice the door is now on the floor, moves up to the walls, and it actually adheres to the 3D space. What's happening with this projection in Silverlight is I'm mapping the coordinates from the mouse, the XY 2D coordinates, over to the 3D space so it respects the model. Basically means that the door will follow along the house. Pretty easy, pretty simple to do. You can also see this with a tooltip. So as I zoom in on the house here, and you see as I move up and down, the tooltip moves around with the house. That's also using projection with 3D. Some very, very cool features that we've got. So let's finish building my house up. I need to have at least one window in my house so we can see what's going on. I'll build some shutters up here. We'll take some other elements. All this is interacting, the 2Ds and the 3D world. And let's put a light inside of the house because we like to be a little security conscious. So this brings me to the second feature in Silverlight 5 that I want to talk about. It's called Binding and Style Setters, which gives you the ability to change different property values in one place, bind it to an object, and then have them update throughout the entire site through styles. So how does this work? Simply put, I can change and choose the color for my doors and my shutters down here with the swatch, and with a simple click, it's binding to all the styles in the entire experience to load up on the screen. And we can choose some really interesting colors if we like to, like yellow. And that's great because it gives us all that binding experience. So now that we've got that going on, it moves me to my third feature I want to talk about with Silverlight 5. And this is implicit data templates. This is really cool for really making your development process much shorter and without running as much code. So over here in my construction list, you can see the prices that I have in the house. It's a little pricey, so let's fix that first. Let's give myself a nice big discount. That's not big enough. I like that better. So I'm a good real estate agent, too. So we've got this great data templates over here. We see all of my items, and this is going to do for me, the implicit data templates are going to take all the data types that are bound in this list, and it's going to change how the appearance looks throughout the application. So what does that mean? It means that when I have doors, I can show different colors, different icons, completely different controls and elements. The door can show me energy efficient or steel. I can see down here for lamps, they're not doors, they're all in the same list. So it adheres and uses a different implicit data template to show different data values in this particular case. And all that really can shorten your development time. So this brings me to my fourth feature, and one of my favorites in Silverlight 5. This one is data binding debugging, which comes in really handy since I've got a bug in my experience up here. You notice the door has no price. I'm pretty sure it's not free. So there probably has a binding problem. So let me flip over to Visual Studio. And we can take advantage of the new feature for data binding debugging to see here we've got the total is my binding operation, and I'm looking for that value on my object. So it looks like it's OK to me, so let me set a breakpoint over here. And once I set my breakpoint, I don't even have to stop. I can go back, we'll re-render the page, and there we see we've got a breakpoint right inside Visual Studio. Very, very cool. But better yet, we can look down here and see what kind of errors we've got. So let's zoom in. Let's zoom in. There we go. Down here we see it says the total property is not found on door house. OK, so I was wrong. There's something going on here. Let's figure out what's going on. We've got some great information down in the locals window. We can see the entire data binding pipeline and look at all the information, even more detailed information about the errors. But what I want to look at is what's going on in something called the final source. The final source shows me what am I bound to. It's a door. OK, that makes sense. It was a door that wasn't showing the price. But I don't see any property in there called the price or the total. I do see one called total, though. So it shows me here and it's got a value of 200. That's what I should have typed earlier. Makes my life a lot easier. In like 5 seconds, I can figure out what's going on without even stopping my application. So now I can remove my breakpoint. I can even set a conditional breakpoint if I want to as well, and just continue running along. Now, those are great 4 features, but once I build my house, I now want to do a little bit of a tour of it as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of my home and check it out. I wish my home looked like this. So I'm zooming around. We get some great performance with 3D again, changing the camera angles. Notice the light values, the rotation. And let's check out the living room. And notice I've got a really cool picture of Scott up here. Doesn't everybody wish they had a portrait of Scott in their house? Really walks around. I'm getting awesome performance running on the GPU. I can even go up the stairs, change the camera angles, and fly around the home. So in summary, what I want you all to take away is some great new features in Silverlight 5. We talked about the 3D, which got some awesome performance for running on the GPU, gives a lot of power for the CPU that will be fully left over. You've got 2D to 3D projection with that. You've got the X and A APIs, so you can start coding with this. And we also got the binding and style setters, and we've got the implicit data templates, which really make development life much easier. And one of my favorites, again, is the binding debugging that you get to really shorten your development life cycles. And I'm really happy to say that this full experience, the house build experience, we're going to release that later this month, the full source code and the full application up on our site so you guys can see a great example of how to use Silverlight 5 to build great experiences. Thank you all very much.
Excited to announce that the Silverlight 5 beta, along with the Visual Studio and Expression Studio support to design applications with it, is now available for download. We'll ship the RTM release of Silverlight 5 later this year, along with the RTM release of Windows Phone Mango. We're really looking forward to seeing some of the amazing experiences that you're going to build with them. And we're looking forward this week to a bunch of great talks and discussions in the hallway about the technology. So we've seen a lot of great examples of user experiences today. What I'd like to do now is actually hand it over to Jeff Sandquist, who's going to show you how you can take your user experiences even further using Connect. Here's Jeff.
Connect is exciting. It is the fastest selling electronics device ever. Let me repeat that. The fastest selling electronics device ever. With over 10 million devices sold. And you know, while those of us were dancing up a storm, playing a little volleyball, or rafting down a river, all from the comfort of our living room, there were a whole host of others. Innovators, hackers, enthusiasts that were doing things with Connect on Windows that none of us could ever have imagined. And that is why we will be releasing the Connect for Windows SDK. Thank you. The Connect for Windows SDK will give you full access to the microphone array, skeletal tracking, and you'll be able to write your apps in VB, C#, and C++. It'll be available later this spring, and at first with a non-commercial license, but we will be having commercial terms following on. You know, I think the best way, though, to really show what this is all about is write some code, show some demos, and have a bunch of fun. I'm going to have Dan Fernandez on my team come on up, and we're going to build our first Connect app together. Come on up, Dan.
Jeff.
Hey, man. Let's do this.
All right. So with Connect, we're going to build our first Hello World application. For those of you who have never programmed a Connect, it has an RGB, a video camera, as well as the ability to get depth information, meaning I can see how close or far something is. So let's just show how you can build an application. So I have a pre-built main window here, and I'm going to drag and drop an image, and I'm going to put this in the left corner. And what we'll do is just size this first image to 640. Click Enter, and let's change the height to 480. So a 640 by 480 image. Let's drag one more image on here, and we'll just keep the size for that, and we'll add a button, and I'll move that there. That looks gorgeous. And I'm going to change the content here so we can just make it real clear that that is a start button. OK, so let's jump into the code behind for our application. So one thing we should mention, we have a reference to the ConnectNet library, which is a wrapper that allows us to communicate back and forth with the driver on this PC. So the first thing we're going to do, and by the way, some of these APIs, properties, methods may change, but at least this will let you understand conceptually how you can program Connect. So we'll build let me full screen this so you can see this all. Connect sensor equals new Connect. OK. So what I'm going to do is subscribe to some of the events that the sensor has, and I'll start with the depth frame ready, and hit Tab and just have Visual Studio build out that event for me. And I'll subscribe also to the video frame ready. So what will happen is those events will fire when I'm getting a new frame, new information from the sensor. So for the first video frame, we're going to set that to that 640 by 480 image. So I'm just going to say image 1